Hello and welcome to HitGuns.com's online tutorials. I'm your technician for today. My name is Eric.
My name is Michael and I'll be operating the camera.
Okay, today we're going to cover the CM-28. Seeing as how this is the CM-28U, they're pretty much the same gun. Minus this one has the folding stock, which you can do like so. Big difference. But in this case, it's a variant, so we're just going to cover that. Most of you probably don't know how to access the fuse casing, and in most cases, to a conventional airsoft player, nobody will. I didn't at first, and we're going to address that issue today. The first step, of course, with any airsoft gun is to make sure it's unloaded. As well as real guns, it's smart to exercise real firearm safety. Okay, so what you want to do, make sure the magazine's out, check down the hole if there's any BBs, and if there's a battery in the gun and you're outside in safe conditions, empty it and clear the chamber. So the first step to this is to get the upper receiver plate off. This is done simply by pushing in on this switch right here, like a real AK and such, and it comes off just like that. The issue that we're going to face today...
Show me again what button you pushed.
It would be this button right here. And if you want, we can do a repeat motion of it.
We'll do a quick repeat.
Okay, pushing this button right here. Turn it off. There you go. This is essential to getting to the battery, and the Tamiya connector's right here. What you want to do next is you want to disconnect this rod, which is the charging handle rod. It would simulate the charging handle effect on a real AK, but in this case it's just to access the hop-up unit, which is right here. But seeing as how we're not working on that today, that's irrelevant. First thing you want to do is disconnect this rod from this assembly. It's simple to do. You can use either your thumbnail, if you have long thumbnails like me, or a screwdriver. In this case, we'll use my thumbnails. Pull back on it, like so, towards the gun, and then slowly rotate it outwards to where it's out of the clearance of this button right here. Once you've done that, take care not to pull this rod out, as it is a nightmare and a half to try and get it aligned properly again. And that can prove to be a nuisance and severely hinder the smoothness of this repair, or take down, whichever you choose. Next thing you want to do is take a small screwdriver. It doesn't necessarily have to be this kind, but it can be a Phillips head screwdriver of that diameter. And if you notice, there's a small screw right here, parallel to the bolt.
Let's see that screw again.
Okay, move it to me so you can see it. It would be right here.
Okay, that's good.
What you want to do is unscrew that counterclockwise as always. The righty-tighty, lefty-loosey rule applies here. And just unscrew it until it's free. Take it off. Take care not to lose it, because that could prove to be a nuisance in the future. Again, we try to avoid nuisances, seeing as how we're helping you with this tutorial. The next step, and I take back everything I said about the hop-up, you need to remove the hop-up knob on the inside right here.
Let's see that knob.
It's right here. It's a small knob that pulls and goes like that.
Move it again.
It moves like this.
Okay.
And there's a small Phillips head screw, if you notice right there. This is easily removed by simply using your Phillips head screwdriver and pulling it out. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, as always. This may prove to be hard to do due to the fact that this particular arm on this, as opposed to the traditional AK, is plastic, and it tends to bend. And be careful as not hyperextend it, because it will break. There's one of two ways you could get this screw and this knob out. The most conventional method would be to just pull this off, and it'll just fall out, and it won't get inside the gun. But that's what we're going to do now. Or you can just pull it out with a pair of tweezers or whichever tool you choose to use. And then what you want to do is lift up on this part, and you have to make sure to lift up this way, because you have to be able to pull the spring out. Again, just turn the gun upside down.
Can we try that again?
Okay.
I'll get a closer shot.
And just pull it back. Make sure that these tabs right here, they interlock with the housing.
Okay.
And just make sure to pull back, pull up, and it's free. Now take care not to lose the screw for the hop-up knob, and just turn it upside down. There's the screw, and there's the knob. Again, don't lose these parts. They're tiny, and they can get lost.
Let's see that knob.
Okay. This is a small knob right here.
Just put it right there. Okay, that's good.
Okay, cool. Now, the fuse casing is located right here in front of the hop-up, which I will expose in a second. Pull it out, and there's the fuse casing.
Okay, let me get a shot of that. Okay.
To open this fuse casing, you want to turn it counterclockwise. Of course, that same rule that I keep repeating works. You can unscrew it lefty, like this, and it'll expose a small 20 amp fuse, which is the peak voltage for any airsoft gun. And assuming if this is broken or not, replace it accordingly. You might be able to acquire more information. You can check on our website, you can check on any airsoft forum, you can call us. We can tell you what kind of fuse it uses. In some cases, it may be different. Okay, if you want to get a look at the fuse, here you go.
Let's see that fuse. Okay, standard fuse, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Get a look at, don't move your other hand, okay. Came out of there. Put the fuse back in there.
okay. To put the fuse back in, this is a little bit tricky because it is spring-loaded. I recommend putting it into the threaded end, which is this end right here. First, because it has a deeper intake, which means that you can conventionally set it in. In this case, it's being a little bit of a nuisance. So, way to avoid this is just to make sure it's not spring-loaded on that side, and then take it on this side that is actually spring-loaded. The other side rather isn't. Push them, join them together accordingly, and then turn it right until it threads. And then once it threads, it's set. The next step is rather complicated and can be time-consuming. It's setting this in the way that it was done in the factory, and it's rather a nuisance. What you want to do is you want to make sure the black wire sits under it, and the fuse casing sits like this. You have to kind of curly-cue it like this in order to make sure it sits accordingly. If not, then the fuse casing will constantly get in the way of the clearance of this front tab right here.
Which tab?
This tab right here.
Okay.
I take my hand off the gun, but I drop it. Okay. Make sure you push the Tamiya's back inside the top of the gas tube right here, just because they may get in the way in the future. Take the seating for the battery and properly sit it on top. This is very time consuming because you have to align these tabs properly. So give yourself a little bit of clearance. Make sure it snaps down like that. If it sits snugly into place, then you got it right. Okay. What you want to be careful of is to make sure that these tabs interlock with each other. They're parallel to each other and they're kind of conjunct, which means that they could sit and interlock with each other.
Let's see those tabs.
Right here. There's interlocking tabs right here.
Okay.
And here, as you can see.
1, 2.
There's about three on this side, 3 or 2. Actually, there's about 3. There's one towards the front here. So the way to avoid this is to set it flat, push it forward with a little bit of force until it pops into place, as you just heard it.
Okay.
Once you've done this, just to avoid any mishaps of it popping out, reconnect the guide rod to the release switch, which is push forward on it because it is spring-loaded inside here. And then you set it inside the small hole, which is located on the front of the switch right here.
Show that again, please.
Okay, sure. Okay. And then you want to pull back on it like this. And then you want to make sure it lines up with the hole in the center of that.
Okay.
And there you go. Once all this is secure and in place, you want to screw down the cover again. I don't have an appropriate name for this. I just know that this is what separates the gearbox from the wiring and the fuse and the battery. So you want to take this screw, put it back in. Assuming that you have it lined up properly, it should sit in perfectly.
Could you tilt it a little bit towards me?
Okay.
Okay.
And it sits perfectly, as you can see. If you do this right, you should be able just to snap this cover back on. But before we put this cover back on, we want to put the hop-up adjuster now back in. This is done by pulling back on the charging handle and by very carefully aligning this.
Could you tilt up the...
As you can see, it's already giving me trouble. If should this occur, repeat the process of taking it apart. First you want to take the screw out. You could put this on before preemptively, but this could prove to give you problems and it could potentially snap this arm, which is something you don't want to do. This is why
Which arm?
This arm right here. The hop-up adjustment
Let's
arm.
see. Move your fingers. Wiggle the arm.
As you can see, it's pretty pliable, but you don't want a chance at breaking.
Okay.
So that's why we don't recommend doing it preemptively.
Why don't you go ahead and attach that real quick?
Okay.
Right now I have a good shot at where it was, yeah. Back, angle it up more towards me a little. There you go.
Let's sit it on there properly. I have to sit it down here, Michaels, just so I can actually sit it and put it on properly. And you just want to screw it down like you did the first time. Be careful not to drop the screw in there. It just proves to slow you down. Okay. And it's in place.
Let's see it in place. Just hold it right there.
There you go. And you can adjust it properly. There you go.
So it's pretty much just a little nub, huh?
Exactly.
Why do you need to remove it?
It's because you could potentially snap this arm off. We're just taking preventive measures so that we don't break the hop-up assembly, because that just means you can't adjust your accuracy, adjust your hop, and all that noise.
Okay.
All that fun airsoft stuff we have to deal with that real gun owners don't have to. But these aren't real guns, now are they, kids? Right? Okay. Now, it's back on. And it's securely in place, as you just saw before. Make sure all the tabs are interlocked with each other. You should be fine. Reset the screw. Make sure that the hop-up nib is in place right there. And that should be good. Now that you've completed that, reattach the linkage rod, as I showed you before. There you go. Put the battery cover back on. Take care as to push it all the way up in here, because it's supposed to fit symmetrically with this. If it's snapped in place just like that, you got it. And then, do what you usually do with your airsoft gun. Have fun, lock and load, be safe, and thank you for choosing HitGuns. This concludes our tutorial.